Okay, 6:30, meeting's on. Welcome to the City Council meeting of February 14th, Valentine's Day. I think as I get started, just before we get started, no, we'll do it after that. So we're going to call to order the meeting. It's 6:30 p.m. Let's see, in terms of public comment, we are going to do as we have done recently. To participate in public comment for items not on the agenda, we'll need those wishing to speak to fill out a speaker card. They're around the room, which is available on the agenda table along the wall to your right. Please return the card to the basket at the Deputy City Clerk's seat. For those online, please raise your virtual hand to indicate your desire to speak on public comments for items not on the agenda. The Deputy City Clerk will randomly pull from speaker cards when I open the public comment period. Public comment on items not on the agenda comes right after our one proclamation for the evening. So please get your speaker slips filled out. I think we're going to stick to the 90-minute limit tonight. So let's get this started, and we'll start by asking Councilmember Klein if he would read the Nisenan tribal recognition. Here you go. You didn't know it by heart?
We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition.
Thank you, Councilmember. And if I would have Councilmember Ceci lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So before we've got one proclamation we're going to do. Before we do that, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize Valentine's Day. It's been a very important it's my favorite for a national holiday that hasn't been recognized, along with Halloween, but I don't get what I want. But, I was thinking about this, and a long time ago, my wife's daughter gave me my favorite Beatles coffee cup. It's a Yellow Submarine. But inside the lip of that cup, every morning as I drink my coffee, it says, "All you need is love." So, I think that we deserve a national holiday for love. We deserve an international holiday for love. But today is that day, however we choose to recognize it. And I would ask as we move forward tonight that we keep those thoughts in our heart as we progress. Thank you. So, presentations, we have a proclamation.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I think we need to do roll call
Oh,
first.
what do you need to do? Thank you. I'll be counting on you to keep me straight there, Councilmember Klein. Gabby, would you call the roll?
I would. Councilmember Ceci?
Here.
Councilmember Klein?
Here.
Councilmember Fleming?
Here.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Here.
And Mayor Fernandez is absent.
Okay, so now we'll do the presentation, and we have a proclamation. Am I right?
Adoption of the agenda.
I have to pay attention to this. Okay, now is the time for any agenda modifications. Would you like to make any of us, would like to make any changes to the agenda, pull consent items, or do we have any recusals to announce?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I would like to pull consent agenda item 3.
Okay, and we will take that up after the rest of the consent agenda is approved when we get to that. Any others? So, looking for a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of item 3 for further conversation.
Seconded.
All right, so move second, roll call.
Councilmember Ceci?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Now we'll get to the proclamation. I was so eager to get there.
I'm going to allow it.
Thank you. So, proclamation for Black History Month, which will be presented by Councilmember Fleming.
How fitting. First, I'd like to start with a quote. Frederick Douglass is a big inspiration to me. He's been one of my heroes. He's also a distant relative. I'm actually named after him somewhat. Wow. One of his quotes that I believe in wholeheartedly is about education. Education means emancipation. It means light and liberty. It means the uplifting of the soul of a man to the glorious light of truth by the light which men can only be made free. So with that, I'm going to go into this wonderful proclamation that we have for Nevada City honoring Black History Month in 2024. Whereas, first proposed in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson to bring attention to the need for acknowledging and accurately representing Black and African American history, the Black United Students and Black educators at Kent State University used the foundation laid by Woodson to found Black History Month in 1970. Since 1976, every president has declared the month of February as Black History Month. And whereas this month we pay homage to the rich history and contributions of Black Americans who have shaped our city, state, and nation in countless ways through centuries of struggle and triumph. Whereas, throughout the arc of history to the present day, Black and African Americans have experienced and endured the inhumanity of injustices and inequities, not just from societal and institutional biases and racism rooted in white supremacy, but also from other Americans. And whereas this year's theme for Black History Month is Black Americans and the Arts, celebrates the profound and evolving impact of Black artistry on our culture, national identity, and social movements that have spanned over the world. Through literature, music, architecture, dance, film, and every conceivable medium in between, Black artists and intellectuals have used their talents to honor their heritage, educate and inspire, and open minds and hearts. And whereas, during Black History Month, let us draw upon inspiration from this legacy as we continue together on the path towards equality, liberty, and opportunity for all. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Nevada City does hereby proclaim February 2024 as Black History Month in the city and calls upon each of us to listen to Black voices. And learn about experience of Black and African Americans throughout history and also today. To shed light upon and condemn the inhumanity of injustices and inequities that Black and African Americans experience and endure, to take ownership for each of our roles in perpetuating these, to comfort and end biases and racism stoked by white supremacy, and to take action to realize true reforms in ourselves, our community, our culture, and our institution to abolish injustice and inequities that Black and African Americans still experience and endure today. Dated this day, for the 14th of February, 2024. And we get an extra day this year, which ain't too bad. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Very well done. Appreciate that. Important proclamation. Okay, we're going to go to public comment. Government Code Section 5495 4.3 provides that any member of the public may address the city council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exception, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on the consent calendar and each agenda item at the time it is heard. As stated when I opened the meeting, in order to participate in public comment for items not on the agenda, we will need those wishing to speak to fill out a speaker card, which is available on the agenda table and on the wall to your right. Please return the card to the basket at the Deputy City Clerk's seat. For those online, please raise your virtual hand to indicate your desire to speak on public comment for items not on the agenda. The Deputy City Clerk will randomly pull from speaker cards when I open the public comment period and invite groups of 4 to the podium or bring the person in on Zoom for those participating virtually. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and we will keep to that time. The total time for public comment for items not on the agenda will be 1.5 hours. We will continue to pull names from the speaker slips until everyone has spoken or the 90 minutes is up, whichever comes first. As a reminder, you must adhere to the rules of decorum established for this meeting as posted on the walls and available at the podium. Clapping, yelling, or making noises during or between others' time to speak is not allowed, although we encourage you to display your support if you would like through other means, such as silent finger clapping display. Only those that have been called to the podium can be in line behind it. Flags or any other displays cannot block the aisle or anyone that is speaking and should be kept to the rear of the room. Sharing time is not permitted. Madam Deputy Clerk, can you please call the first 4 names?
I am shuffling. Alfred Bluff.
Good evening, Mayor.
Hold on
One second, we're going
One
to get the
second.
rest of the names so we can get a queue behind you, and then we'll have you start. Hold on.
The next one was the three at the digit. Noga Wazenski, Ian Wolf, Olivia Steele, and Rachel Terrell.
Okay, if you-
Okay, good evening, Councilman
Excuse
and
me.
Mayor. Several years ago, when Dwayne Strouser was mayor, we had a meeting in Java John's across the street, and I showed him a sketch of putting a deck over that freeway. Now, that is the best place for the courthouse, and nobody outside this city should, and I mean people in San Francisco and the Judicial Committee, should determine where that courthouse goes. Only the people of this area should. And by building the courthouse over that freeway, we cut down the noise, the pollution, and the extra run of utilities. And the economic value stays in downtown Nevada City. Now, this is the perfect place, and I hope you leave room for the railroad station that I'm scheduling to. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get some comment.
Hi, everyone. In the last meeting, I learned that my voice actually doesn't matter in this space because I live 50 yards beyond the city limit. So today, instead of speaking for myself, I want to share the words of two educators, speaking of educators. One lives within city lines. The numbers in his address should give his voice weight here. Bob Gould of Nevada City couldn't be with us today, but he asked me to convey his support for agendizing the ceasefire resolution. He wrote, "I am a retired high school teacher who spent my career welcoming all ideas in my classroom. I encouraged my students to work together, to think freely and openly, and to see problem solving as a life skill. When I heard the Nevada City Council would not permit a discussion of a problem that is deep in many of our community's hearts and minds, I was puzzled and deeply disappointed. What are you afraid of?" The second educator lived miles away in Gaza. He paid the ultimate price for the mass slaughter that Israel is carrying out in that tiny strip with U.S. arms and funding. Rafat Al-Arir, a former writer, poet, and professor of literature at the Islamic University in Gaza, understood the cynical calculus of numbers, how they can be used to override human voices. He resisted that calculus with a social media project titled We Are Not Numbers that paired writers abroad with young writers in Gaza and promoted Palestinian storytelling to the world. Israel killed Rafat on December 6th, along with 6 members of his family, including 4 children. He is one of 230 educators that Israel has targeted and killed since October as part of its attempts to wipe out not only Palestinian life, but also Palestinian culture and memory. Rafat is dead, but he left us a poem. If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it white with a long tail so the child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite, you made, flying up above and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a story. So each day that passes as we debate whether US-funded genocide is something this council should care about, hundreds of more lives are extinguished. I hope these educators' words, as well as the voices carried by the many local signatures brought to you tonight, move you to let your community help repair this terrible story and to place the ceasefire resolution on the agenda of your next meeting. What is there to be afraid of? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name name's Ian Wolf. I live in downtown Nevada City. I believe war is not merely a political act, but a profound moral evil. As a community that prides itself on progressiveness, I believe that it is imperative that we rise above silent complicity and advocate for an immediate ceasefire in Palestine. I'm here to ask that you please add a resolution for a ceasefire to the council's agenda.
Thank you.
My name is Olivia Steele. I'm a resident of a 3-digit address in downtown Nevada City. I've been a member of this community for over 20 years. The longest I've ever left was for 6 months once. I'm here to ask this council yet again to put a resolution for ceasefire on the agenda for discussion. I can't believe I'm still asking. I'll keep asking. Please help us free Palestine.
My name is Rachel Turiel. I have lived in Nevada City for almost 3 years. As I've stated before, I am of Jewish descent, and I celebrate my Jewish heritage on many different occasions throughout the year. As the days go on, it becomes more and more difficult to go about my daily life while I know what is happening in Palestine. While everyone was having fun at their Super Bowl parties this past Sunday, and folks are out tonight celebrating love on Valentine's Day, children are dying. People are dying, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, etc. Meanwhile, most of us of all get to sit cozy in our homes, going about our daily lives as if nothing is happening. I'm starting to wonder why. Why are more people not outraged? And why are more people not making a stand for a ceasefire? What is it going to take for everyone to make that stand? Every aid organization says that the humanitarian crisis is the worst they've seen in the world ever. 200 million Palestinians are in a crisis situation for food and on the verge of starvation. Most of them are women and children and babies. We are now at 28,000 people killed. Palestinian refugees have been fleeing from northern Gaza and other parts of Gaza because they were told by Netanyahu that that would be a safe place for them to go, to Rafah. Now Netanyahu announced publicly that he has decided to launch an operation against Rafah. Despite the request from the United States, he has decided that Israel will launch a military operation against the city of Rafah, which is only going to cause more death and destruction. You say all we need is love? Well, right now, I think the Palestinians need it the most. They need it from us. They need it from anyone that will speak on their behalf. We ask you, the City Council, to affirm the basic principles of our shared humanity and reject genocide. We stand with the mothers, we stand with the precious children, and we stand with the men of Palestine. It's time for you to stand up for us and collect justice. Make the right choice and join the other city councils around the country calling for a ceasefire now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next 5, Saxon Thomas, Zala Grammer, Libby Woods, Don Frazier, Ariel Blake.
Thank you, council members. Homakani, Saxon Yapani, Nishnanimni. I am the 3rd great-grandson of Chief Pamelo, who was one of the great chiefs in our areas. His time was the late 1800s. Luckily, I do have other awesome prominent members of my family, but I'd be here a lot longer than 3 minutes if I went through all of them. But tonight, I'm actually here to spread word about the Homeland Return campaign we have launched. I hope everyone has had a chance to learn a little bit about the tribe. I know the council is very well aware, so thank you guys for coming to our gallery and learning about us and everything you guys have done. It's been truly amazing. But for other people watching, media, and in the room, a little brief history of us. We are the people, the Nishnawbe Tribe of Nevada Rancheria, who have always been here. In 1848, gold was found locally in this area, and it became ground zero of the California gold rush. Through starvation, disease, displacement, and murder, the Nishnawbe population was reduced by over 98%. It was recorded that we had roughly 7,000 foothill Nishnawbe in the area, and by the 1934 census roll, we were down to 18 members. So again, over 90% just off the map, unfortunately. But these genocide survivors were pushed to smaller and smaller pieces of land until all that remained was 75 acres, which became our federally recognized reservation called the Nevada City Rancheria, located just behind us up on Cement Hill. Unlike most rancherias, the Nevada City Rancheria was actually not created for homeless Indians, but rather it was created just for us, the Nishnawbe tribal people who have been here for a millennia. We, in the areas, which is now Nevada, Yuba, and Sierra counties, resided here. In 1964, the federal government illegally sold the reservation, and the Indians were terminated through legislation called the California Rancheria Act of 1958. There's been over 40 tribes throughout California that were terminated under this act, and today only 3 of those tribes have not been restored to federal recognition. And of course, as you know, we are one of those tribes, so we are still fighting for that restoration. But for tonight, I am here with a time-limited opportunity to purchase 232 acres. It's located on a historic Nishnawbe site called Ulicha, which is near Nevada City, which is the Woolman property, which I think we've all heard of. We are a fundraising goal of $2.4 million. It includes purchase price, government-mandated improvements, and an operating endowment. Phase 1, we only need $1.5 million by April 4th, so not as bad now. This is our best opportunity to actually reestablish a piece of our homeland, so we're really pushing for it. The California Heritage Indigenous Research Program, CHIRP, is our nonprofit 501c3. Running out of time here, so if anyone online wants to check us out, chirpca.gov, and we do have this Friday a Zoom meeting to help with campaigning ideas and fundraising opportunities. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Zale Grammer. I live downtown, right up from Treats. I work in town. I am an artist granted with the Arts Council, working with queer youth in the county. And I've been here a few times. You've heard a lot of things. I just have questions that I've been writing in my notes. When will the burden of not acting be more than the burden of watching it happen? How much support is enough to just do the right thing? Do you know what the right thing to do is? If you don't, then how do you not know at this point? What needs to change? Our heart or our political structure? Probably both. And I'll speak for myself, and maybe other people will resonate with this, but I'm tired. Not tired, gonna give up, but tired, and who's gonna help us stand? And we're trying to help you stand, and we want you to help us stand. And the symbolic power of a ceasefire resolution might seem small, but like our community, we're small, but we're still connected to everything. So we urge you to put a ceasefire resolution on the agenda, end U.S. military aid to Israel, and make a community statement of solidarity with Palestinian people. And I just want to take a second to look at each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Don Fraser, and ironically, I live at 821 Zion Street. In 1978, I had the opportunity to work in the country of Jordan, and I was a driller. They were looking for a place to build a dam. A number of the helpers that we had over there were Palestinians. And while I was over there, I had the opportunity to visit Israel. And to get there, we had to travel through the West Bank. And it was an eye-opener. The way these people were treated was unbelievable to me. And I'm not talking about Gaza. I'm just talking about the West Bank in 1978. From what I understand, it's 10,000 times worse now. And then we come to Gaza. Almost 30,000, maybe more than 30,000 killed, maimed. Come on. You know, I write my senators, I write my congressmen, no response. They say all politics are local. So I'm here to ask you to put a resolution on the agenda calling for a ceasefire to stop the killing, to stop the maiming. The women, the children, the men, the babies, when they're blown up with American missiles fired from American jets, their blood's red, just like yours and mine. The moms, the dads, the brothers, the sisters, when they cry, their tears are salty, just like yours and mine. Please stand up and be counted. At least put a resolution on the agenda where it can be debated. Ask our government to stop supporting the slaughter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. I don't live in downtown Nevada City, but I run my own small business in the Seven Hills District since 2018. We're here for the 5th time, asking you to place a resolution for a ceasefire on the agenda. 70 other cities across the country have passed ceasefire resolutions. I've called Kevin Kiley every other day for the past 100 days. It's pretty clear that our representatives are not listening to their constituents. The mayor referred to this issue as divisive last time we were here, and when collecting signatures from businesses, the owners in the Seven Hills District, all of them thanked us. They were grateful for the opportunity to participate. None of them felt like it was divisive. Actually, they were eager to talk to someone who also was compelled to act. So, making a statement against violence and genocide, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia is not divisive. Everyone here is working very hard to survive. Most people in our county are struggling to pay their rent, their PG&E, their groceries. So in addition to our community tax dollars, there's these multi-billion-dollar aid packages that are getting pushed onto the working class people of this country and this county. Our currency is being inflated and debased to pay for genocide. So this is immoral. It should not be considered divisive, and it affects all of us. I want to speak a little bit, because I have a little bit of time. Earlier today, I read about these 2 teenagers. One is 14, one is 15. They're taking care of their 7 younger siblings because both of their parents were killed. Well, their father's missing. Something that really stuck with me is this 15-year-old sibling is taking care of her 6-month-old sister. When the baby cries in the middle of the night, she doesn't know what this baby needs. Is it hungry? Is it in pain? I have a baby. I know that exact feeling. I'm a resourced adult. So to imagine a 15-year-old struggling through this, it compels me to continue to show up and continue to ask my local representatives to make a ceasefire resolution, at least bring it to the table so we can keep talking about it. Free Palestine.
Thank you.
Hey now, hello, my name is Ariel Blake. I live on Mill Street a couple blocks away with my family, my 2 small children, who you hear out there. I speak to my voice and my family's voice unwaveringly behind a resolution for ceasefire in Gaza. I'm a Jewish person raised in a Jewish community whose parents spent years living in Israel. I only say this to dispel the idea that criticism of the government in Israel is in any way anti-Semitic, divisive in nature or in deed. If we can't separate Israel's government from the Jewish population, then we can't criticize any government policies really anywhere. So we're called upon into action as it's our tax money that's going to fund this. It's our weapons, and essentially the blood is on our hands. So, we all know all the facts. 30,000 dead, International Criminal Court has said it's plausibly genocide. So what do we do in our small town? I think the answer is pretty clear. And it's important to remember that a desire for a ceasefire resolution, it's not a commentary on Israel's right to exist or any issues around apartheid or civil rights. This is about peace. This is about the right to not be murdered. Nothing about Israel's actions can be seen as creating peace, as peace is never achieved through mass murder. Hate just creates more hate. Peace creates peace. And that's how it works. And I, for one, want to raise my children in a community that cultivates peace, that stands for human rights and civil rights in our country, our state, and the world, and our county. I want my children to know that even though we live in a small town, we have the ability to send our voice in ripples of peace and goodwill outwards to be heard. I understand and have a deep compassion for the trauma held by the Jewish population, but trauma is never an excuse for mass murder. Israel's blocking food and medicine, causing Gaza to currently have 80% of the worldwide population of people facing extreme starvation. Rules of warfare have gone out the window. And while I understand that there are constituents in our community who feel murdering tens of thousands of civilians will protect their families in Israel, one can see this makes no sense, no one safer or freer. And remembering that spilled blood hurts the spirit and souls of the perpetrators of violence as much as those being perpetrated. And that's where we come in, to save ourselves just a little bit of the bloodshed that's on our hands, and that's what we can do as a community. So I hope that us, the citizens of Nevada County, and you, our elected representatives of Nevada City, I mean, because you're our elected representatives, can lend a voice to peace in the world, and in doing so, lend a peace to our hearts, my family's hearts, and our family's hearts. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, the next 5 we have is Galaxy Tab, which is a Zoom, Jelena Smith, which is also a Zoom, Emily Wilson, Ari Rampy, which is also a Zoom, and Diana Kay. So go ahead, let me see.
Galaxy Tab.
Go ahead, Galaxy Tab.
Yeah, is the Zoom camera not working tonight? There hasn't been a picture. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you. I'm not sure what the answer to
Go
that
ahead.
is.
Go ahead with your public comment.
Well, I wanted to watch the meeting and then comment after. Is there going to be a picture tonight or no picture?
Well,
This is
if you're not
opportunity
getting
for public
a picture, I believe we're broadcasting, but I'm not sure what the situation is with it, why you're not receiving it.
Zoom is an opportunity for public comment. If you want to watch, you can watch on TV or on YouTube.
YouTube's got it.
This is your opportunity for public comment.
Okay. Well, okay. Public comment. Yep, I came over to the parade, and I was a little bit shocked that somebody didn't walk through the parade beforehand and get the dog poop off the streets and just kind of do a basic walkthrough before so many people came to town. I brought that up to the chamber folks, and I also talked to the chief of police about it. As we were standing there talking, I just pointed to my left a few feet away to a pile of vomit in this gutter. And yeah, it just seems like we're missing a little cleanliness when a large groups of people come to town to have a party. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Matthew.
The next we have is Jelena Smith. Go ahead and speak.
Hello, this is Jelena. I'm a lifelong Nevada County resident. I've lived in Nevada City. Currently, I'm in Grass Valley, but I'm just here. I'll make it brief, as you've heard me many times before. I'm here to voice another name in support of you putting a ceasefire on your agenda as soon as possible. And there are plenty of Nevada City residents who agree with this, as we will be bringing you some signatures, I believe, tonight, but we've been gathering lots, and this is a local issue. This is an everywhere issue. And earlier you were talking about Black History Month, and it's a wonderful statement that you made, and I agree with all of it 100%. But in the past, it seems that you said that, you know, these larger issues that don't directly affect Nevada City, and this is another one of those larger issues that does. It is a larger issue, but it also affects everyone in our community too. And particularly, sorry, lost my train of thought. But like I said, I'll keep it brief. I'll wrap it up and leave the floor for the people present there today. And hopefully I will be in person at the next meeting, and this will be on the agenda. So thank you. That's all tonight.
Thank you.
Emily Wilson?
let's bring the next person up.
Okay, the next person is Ari Rampy. So go ahead online, Ari.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. Hello, City Council, everyone else in the room. Happy Valentine's Day. My name is Ari Rampy. I am homesick with the kid, calling in. I'm a homeowner in downtown Nevada City, 3-digit address. I grew up in Nevada City and I moved back to raise my son here. And it's important to me to raise him where my community shares my values of progress and inclusivity. And I want to thank you for the efforts that you are making in that direction. In this time when big government is acting so against my values, it would be meaningful and hopeful to be able to tell my son and our greater community that in this historic moment, Nevada City is choosing to raise our voice as one tiny act among the many that are necessary to end this genocide and our country's active complicity. It is our responsibility, I believe, to do what we can, where we are, with what we have. And so I am asking you on this perfect day to show our love of all humans, to use your power, show our solidarity with the growing number of U.S. cities also raising their voices, and please place the ceasefire resolution on your next agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Hi, my name's Diana. I'm a 3-digit address resident of Nevada City. I really wish I was doing anything else to celebrate this day of love than standing here again, begging you to show us that you have a heart and actually care about the lives of innocent people. There will be no exchanging of Valentines or treats in Palestine this year, only incessant bombing of a refugee camp in the last area designated as a safe zone. Agendize the ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi.
You were?
Wilson.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just here because I don't know what else to do. I think a lot of us are in the same boat where we're just being torn apart with grief, watching this genocide that we're funding with our taxpayer money. So I'm here just to ask you to pass this resolution, just put it on the agenda, just talk about it. Yeah, I didn't prepare anything. I hate public speaking. This is like my worst fear, and this is the only thing I know how to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next 5 we have is Ray, Josh, Peter K., Geronimo Christofatos, and Kiana.
It was carbonated pineapple.
Good evening. My name is Ray. I am a Nevada City resident. I have a 3-digit address. Walking to this building takes me about 8 minutes, although I did drive tonight. I didn't spend a lot of time on a speech for this evening, as we've learned more where we should focus our energy. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the beautiful and dedicated group of people that canvassed the neighborhoods of 3-digit addresses in Nevada City. I want to report to the council the overwhelming support we've received from our community members, the eagerness, the hope, and the desire to put into action a ceasefire resolution. So I come here today requesting that you reflect back to us the expressed values of our community. Adopt a resolution in solidarity with Palestine, calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and an end to U.S. military aid in Israel. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Josh. I've lived in Nevada City almost my whole life. My parents live in Nevada City with a 3-digit address. My grandmother lives in Nevada City with a 3-digit address. I've lived in this town a while. My family has lived in this town a while. And this town overwhelmingly supports a ceasefire. Just in the canvassing that we've done in the last several weeks, 10% of the population of Nevada City signed on to say that they support a ceasefire, and say that they support our city council passing a resolution in support of a ceasefire. This might be a controversial issue, But in this town, the people overwhelmingly support a ceasefire because our town is progressive and our town cares about people. Whether it's when we put up rainbow flags to celebrate Pride Month, which is a great thing, or when we pass proclamations in support of Black History Month, which is a great thing. Our town is a progressive one that seeks to make the world better and seeks to right the own wrongs that our town has done. And this is the next step to that. Passing a resolution in support of a ceasefire is saying that our town condemns genocide. It's saying that our town will stand on the right side of history, and it'll be there to make in the future to say that we are the ones who care about people. We're the ones who care about people no matter their skin color, whether they're Palestinians, whether they're Congolese, whether they're Sudanese. No matter who, our town cares about them because our town has tried to make it out as a progressive town. And this is the next step to that. Passing a ceasefire resolution, which again, I cannot tell you this enough, is supported by the people who live here, the people with 3-digit addresses. That's the right thing for this town to do. That's the right thing for everyone to do. Because what we're seeing going on, it's unspeakable. We're seeing children, we're seeing mothers, we're seeing teachers, we're seeing everyone you can think of being slaughtered using our tax dollars. The least we can do about that is say, as a city, we are against that. We are against the senseless killing of people. We support peace, and we support a better world where everyone can live free. And the way that people can live free is when they don't have to fear about a genocide. It's when they don't have to fear about the bombs that are being dropped over them. They don't have to fear the checkpoints they have to walk through just to go see their family who live 15 minutes away by car. Our town has the ability to do what's right. It has the ability to support the people, to support peace, to support everything that this town says it stands for. And all we need to do is act on that. I ask you, please, add a ceasefire resolution to the next agenda, because ultimately we're going to be back. And we're going to keep showing up until you do add a ceasefire resolution and until you pass it. Because this issue, it isn't something that's just popular and, whoa, we're thinking about that because we saw it on Instagram. No, this is an issue that affects all of us. This is an issue that is deep to all of our hearts, and we're going to keep showing up.
Good evening, City Council. My name's Peter Crafts. I also have a 3-digit address where I've lived for over 20 years. I first want to thank you all for choosing to be elected officials of our beautiful, special Nevada City. It's an important role that you've to represent the residents of our city that I love so dearly. I'm sure you do too. As a representative body of government, you pledged your commitment to working collaboratively for the good of Nevada City, and I thank you for your patience listening to the important issues that concern us, including this humanitarian crisis in Gaza that I'm here for the 3rd time to address. On the Nevada City website, your pledge states you'll maintain your focus on the city's most important priorities and also keep an awareness of the world around us, but working diligently on issues that are local to our community and relevant to the quality of our life of your constituents. It may seem to some, or to all of you, that what is happening in Gaza is not a local issue and that it's not relevant to the quality of life for us here in Nevada City. But I strongly urge you to reconsider the effect this genocide is having on me, my family, and many of your constituents. We're deeply disturbed, emotionally affected by what we see our elected government doing in Gaza, by supplying Israel with weapons to commit a genocide with no end in sight. As a U.S. taxpayer, I don't want my taxes paying for the bombs that are destroying Gaza and have killed over 30,000 innocent residents that had nothing to do with Hamas and the events of October 7th. You all are U.S. taxpayers as well. Do you want your taxes used to drop bombs on innocent women and children and to annihilate an entire population? I don't. And I'm here to ask you to ask yourself what kind of difference you could make by using your voice to amplify our voices. Take a stand, be brave, tell our government and the world that Nevada City does not support the genocide happening in Gaza, please put the ceasefire resolution on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Gerasimos Christoforatos, and I live in the Jones Bar community on Woolman Lane. Lady and gentlemen of the board, thank you for lending us your ears. I too would like to ask for the ceasefire resolution to be put on the agenda. I'm a first generation Greek American, and my family too lived under the occupation of the Germans and the Italians under Mussolini and Hitler. And so I understand the damages that come with an occupation that mistreats the people. I'm going to read some information here from a woman by the name of Laura Alborno, and this is in her words. She talks about an investigation that was published by 972 magazine entitled The Mass Assassination Factory, and that investigation relied on the testimonies of current and former Israeli intelligence officials who were quoted as confirming that Israel intentionally targets Palestinian family homes and apartment buildings in its airstrikes, and that this is not an accident. Our families are not collateral damage, rather, they are the targets of Israel's attack on purpose. Israel refers to those targets as power targets, and this is an international policy that is designed to create as much carnage as possible, to create as much despair and devastation as possible. In the words of the Israeli intelligence officers describing this practice, it's intended to put pressure on Hamas by putting pressure on the entire civilian population. This practice meets the definition of terrorism. Terrorism is specifically unlawful targeting of civilians using violence for a political purpose. But of course, this is never dealt with in the mainstream media. It is also never dealt with by the government officials who are arming and financing this genocide. So a few days after the Mass Assassination Factory investigation was published, Matthew Miller of the U.S. State Department was questioned whether he believed Israel was intentionally targeting civilians, and he replied, "I have not seen any evidence that Israel is intentionally targeting civilians." Now, am I to believe that I have more information about what Israel is doing in Gaza than the U.S. State Department? That's an insane premise, because this was a public report which was published just days prior, and yet the U.S. lives in this fictional reality which it has created, which it enables to ignore clear evidence, videos, photos, testimonies coming out from the ground by Palestinians who are living this genocide. I don't think there are any way for us to really understand the totality of the scope of the human suffering in Gaza right now. Every form of human suffering that could possibly exist exists right now in Gaza. All of it: starvation, dehydration, the sound of bombs, the sound of drones, uninterrupted for over 2 months. You've never had a day of quiet. The smells, everything smells like death. Everything smells like burning, toxic gas. There's no fresh air. There's no clean air. Everything smells like rotting flesh and blood. The sights, everywhere you go, there's destruction. Everywhere you go, concrete and iron and blood, destroyed buildings, destroyed homes, destroyed businesses. The way the people must live in their bodies in this moment, pure anxiety, depression, shock, PTSD, that never ends.
Thank you.
Hello, City Council. My name is Kiana. I'm a 3-digit address resident of Nevada City. I believe that violence is the antithesis of love, and that's why I'm here tonight. Since we're spending it here together, happy Valentine's Day. I'd like to share a poem by Sarah Epperson. Roses are red, the situation is dire, stop the genocide, demand a ceasefire. This will be my 3rd time speaking here and asking that the ceasefire resolution be put on the next agenda. As of today, more than 33,500 people in Gaza have been killed since October 7th. That number includes those presumed dead under the rubble. They can't even reach their bodies. Each time we come here to speak, that number rises. And every time we come here to speak, the number of other city councils across the U.S. that have passed ceasefire resolutions also rises. Last time we were here, you encouraged us to show more support from the 3-digit address residents that you directly represent. We've been gathering signatures to show you just that. During the time that I've personally spent canvassing, I want you to know that the response has been extremely positive. I was bracing myself for some varied and angry reactions, but almost all of the people I spoke to were not only gladly signed, but also expressed their gratitude for what we were doing and encouraged us to keep going. Their responses have reaffirmed for me that most of the people in this community do stand against the genocide being perpetrated against the Palestinian people with our tax dollars. It has reaffirmed for me why we are here at these council meetings, where we will continue to show up and we will continue to do everything we can to try to convince you, as our representative leadership, that the majority of this community does support this ceasefire resolution. We are continuing to protest, to call our Congress members to boycott, but they are not listening. Please help us amplify our voices as a community. Please help us register the extent of our refusal to be complicit in this genocide that gets more dire by the day. Please let us work together and put this resolution on the agenda. Free Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next 5 we have are Yasmin Bedshamaya, Rhea Amanda Gribe, Grayson Carlisle, Jeffrey Gottsman, and Zach Collins.
Thank you for passing the Black History Month, and thank you for what you shared, Doug. As Frederick Douglass also said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet depreciate agitation are men who want crops without plowing the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never did, and it never will. So this is the 5th time that we are here again, urging you simply to just put a ceasefire resolution on the agenda, which also includes condemnation of anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and all acts of hate. We simply will be joining the growing number of cities who are doing this, as the growing number of children murdered and innocent Palestinians murdered also has grown. There is at least 13,000 children that have been murdered at this time, and while the Super Bowl was happening, one child in particular, my daughter's age, was thrown by Israeli airstrikes in Rafah with her body impaled on a wall and her legs torn off. And I will never be the same after this, and I'm so changed, and our community is so hurting deeply, and this is just one small act. And we are simply asking you to please put this on the agenda, to just say we stand against genocide. Please, I will keep coming back. We will keep coming back, and we will continue to canvass and build even more support. We so far have 47 brick and mortar businesses in Nevada City proper who have signed our ceasefire resolution. We have 350 three-digit address residents who have signed our ceasefire resolution and are urging you, their voices here are urging you to put this on the agenda. There will also be, this petition will continue to grow. Please, it's a small ask, and we are doing everything else in our power. Direct actions, calling our representatives, we're doing everything we can. What we just want is this small act in Nevada City to just stand for what is right, for justice, equity, and liberation and liberty for all. I'm going to give you our signatures, Lou, right now.
Over here.
Over here.
To the clerk, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
Hello, good evening. My name is Grayson Carlisle. I am a resident of Nevada City. I have a 3-digit address in town. I live on North Pine Street, and I, like so many others here tonight, and many of those I'm sure watching and calling in to comment, I'm here to ask that you put a ceasefire resolution on the agenda for the next meeting that includes a condemnation of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and all forms of hate. I don't have a lot to say that hasn't already been said, except that I too have lost count of the number of times I've called my elected officials at so many levels of government, and lost count of the number of times I've looked at polls that show the overwhelming majority of Americans of any political party support a ceasefire. And I just feel like if there's any place where I will be listened to and I'll see action taken, it's here in my own town from you all. So that's all I have to say. I would just love to see a ceasefire resolution on the agenda. And thank you so much for volunteering your time to serve our community and for your patience in hearing so many of us speak on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Gottesman. I'm a three-digit resident of Nevada City and also a board member of the Peace and Justice Center of Nevada County and a member of Jewish Voice for Peace. And I'm here because, and I want to thank you all for being here on Valentine's Day, but I'm here because I know that most of you probably share my feelings of being distraught and my feelings of disgust about the way that our country and the Israeli government is ignoring the International Court for Justice and its concerns about genocide occurring right now. But the reason that I'm here today is because we need your help. We have a broken campaign finance system that is being exploited by the Israel lobby and the weapons makers lobbies that are causing our government to be supporting this genocide. And the only way that we can overcome that is by having you as local government officials rise up and say that this is not right. I want to point out that that after our war on terror, we have spent over $8 trillion. Have we made our country safer through that money? No. Each American household has shouldered a burden of $97,000. Imagine how much better life would have been for people in Nevada County if that money hadn't been spent on something as useless and immoral as the war on terror. And now we're about to get involved in another regional war, another $1 trillion war that's going to be against Yemen, against Lebanon, Hezbollah, Syria, Iran, and Iraq. And there are going to be Nevada County children who are going to be sent to die in that war. And we're going to spend more of our community's fortune on that. And that's why it's a local issue.
Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Zach. I spent the vast majority of my life here. I grew up on North Pine Street. I lived on South Pine Street, Clay Street, Nivens, Park Avenue. Some I've probably forgotten. I mean, I couldn't be more deeply rooted to this community. Like, this is my community. It's my town. You know, I love this town. But it's not representing the way it needs to be right now. You know, in the canvassing that I did, it was 98, 99% of people, when I said, would you sign this? They said, of course I will. This is easy for them. And you don't get that kind of unanimous consensus from any topic. I mean, this is a no-brainer. Your constituents support this massively. You know, this is, yes, it's an ideological statement. It's a moral statement. But all laws and all policies are, you know, the laws we all live by every day are ideological moral statements about what we believe as a community is right. And what is right is slipping away from us. our police force trains with the IDF. They share technology, they share surveillance technology, they share weapons. It's our military technology, our weapons killing these kids, these innocent civilians. So, Derek Chauvin, the guy that killed George Floyd, yeah, he trained with the IDF. Of course he did, because that's, they're sharing all their techniques together, and the morality of our policies in this town needs to be strong, because if it's not, then we're just waiting for this to be our reality, and we can avoid that, and we can help a lot of people around the world avoid that. I mean, there's no reason to subject any human being to this kind of stuff, and we're complicit, and we're volunteering our consent. We're saying this is something we are happy to be quiet about and not speak to, because it's hard and it's easier, and it's not my lane. It's obviously our lane. It's our money. It's our government. It's our military. So, if anything is ever going to change, we have to grow a spine and do something. And we're going to have to change the model where this town can opt out. I don't want another dime of money coming out of this county to kill kids. Come on, do something. Thanks. Free Palestine.
Thank you.
Okay, the next 5 we have is Gabby Milas, Charlie, Dan Thiem, Andrew Walker, and Ethan Cameron. Go ahead.
My name is Gabriella. I'm a mother, and I'm a Nevada City 3-digit resident. I advocate for the innocent children, women, and men who are being slandered as terrorists in order to justify what has been a gradual ethnic cleansing. This stems back far before October 7th. We must see that there's a greater context as to why October 7th occurred in the first place. The facts are that since October 7th, 1,139 Israeli civilians were murdered and terrorized, and over 28,000 Palestinians have been murdered and terrorized. The great difference in those numbers alone is just one of many empirical evidence that there is, in fact, a power imbalance. The end goal is the entitled grabbing of more land and resources. I, along with millions of other Americans, do not consent to our taxes being used to aid more destruction in the Middle East or anywhere in the world. As a Bosnian refugee of war, I want all refugees from any place to feel heard, because I never wanted to be displaced. Many of us never wanted to move countries. We want our homelands to be safe and comfortable and thriving. But the unfortunate reality is that there's a militaristic superpower like the United States that keep that from happening. More than anything, I desire to see and be a part of a heaven on earth, but in order to get there, we need honest accountability. For the love of all, I urge a ceasefire resolution to be put on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name's Charlie. I am a Nevada County resident, not Nevada City, but my family has been here for 40 plus years and have been deeply rooted in this community. A little insulting that I'm not considered important in this chamber, but that's okay. I'm here, honored to be here actually today on a very important holiday, Black History Month. It's also Frederick Douglass's birthday today, an incredible abolitionist and Black man. Doug, you made a very important statement about how we need to listen to Black voices and uphold Black voices, and especially in this town where white supremacy still has its roots. So I would just like to talk about some different incredible Black voices tonight. Toni Morrison was actually born this month on the 18th, an incredible author. She also signed a letter urging for Palestinians to be treated humanely and for Israel to stop their assault on them. Audre Lorde was also born the same day. Audre Lorde is a feminist, lesbian, poet, icon. Also a Black woman, also was deeply in support of the Palestinian cause. Huey P. Newton, who was a co-founder of the Black Panther Party, he was born on the 17th of February. It's a whole month of incredible black people being born. The Black Panther Party, as you may know, deeply in favor of supporting the Palestinian cause. Who else? Oh my goodness. Nelson Mandela, on the 10th of February, he was actually released after 27 years in prison because he was deeply anti-apartheid. And what do you know, in support of the Palestinian cause. I am here, we are all here because we are also in support of the Palestinian cause. Our love letter to you tonight on this day is bringing these voices, these brown and black voices forward, and trying to say that they matter and that they deserve to live. And the least we can do as a majority white community is to put this ceasefire resolution on your agenda. We want to talk about it. We want to pass it. This community wants to move forward with this conversation. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to this month. And because I guess it's a day of love, we owe it as a declaration of love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Dan, three-digit resident here in downtown, owner of a business in downtown, well, not downtown, but in town, and former owner of another business. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but here I am. And the reason I'm here is because I love my country. And my country's founded, our country is founded on the principle of open debate. And the hallmark of democracy is getting ideas out in the open, talking about them, seeing what sticks as a community, and finding what we as a society want to put forth as our values and our laws. That's what all these folks here are asking you to do, is let's have the debate. That's all we're asking. You know, let's talk about this very powerful problem. And I might add on to that, that it might be performative, it might be symbolic, but really, I think what the community is asking is for you to take this up, not just for Gaza, but for them. Take it up for our town so that they know that our elected officials have a stand for something, that stand for the values that they espouse, that they share the values with the people who are representing them. So put it on the agenda. Do it for them. Do it for your community, even if it's not for Gaza, even if it's not for, you know, some great public foreign policy debate. Let's do it for our community and say, hey, we hear you, we understand where you're coming from, we support you. That's all I'm saying. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Walker. I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm going to keep it really brief. To me, it doesn't really matter whether you all consider what's happening a genocide or not. I think we can all recognize there are a lot of innocent lives at the expense of the atrocities happening in the Middle East right now. And I think that from what I can hear from the other people who have spoken already tonight, there's overwhelming support for a resolution for our city to commit to a ceasefire and the end of hostilities in Gaza. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ethan Cameron. I live on North Pine Street in downtown Nevada City. I don't have a lot more to add to this conversation that hasn't been said already. I would like to add my voice as a constituent, as a person with a 3-digit address here in Nevada City, to request that you add a resolution calling for a ceasefire and a condemnation of Islamophobia and anti-Semitism to the agenda so that it can be brought up in discussion so that people can talk about it. The International Court of Justice has said that Israel must do everything in its power to prevent genocide from happening. American dollars are supporting Israel. Americans must do everything in our power to prevent a genocide. American weapons are bombing hospitals, are bombing refugee camps, safe zones. By every definition, this is a genocide. Please add this to the agenda. Thank you for your service to our town and our community.
Thank you.
Okay, the next 5, Liz Newman, Zoom caller, Bill Shaner, Zoom Zeke Lonby, another Zoom caller, Molly Conger, and then another Zoom, which is Rex's Lampshade Emporium. Okay.
Hi, my name is Liz Newman, and I'm a Nevada County resident. I have been struggling to find the words, because how can I possibly put into words everything that has happened in Gaza? How can I describe to people the images that I've seen of children and families being ripped apart, quite literally being ripped into pieces? The images that will haunt me for the rest of my life. How do you wake up every morning in your warm, comfortable beds and not think of them? When you sit in your safe houses, eat your hot meals, turn on your lights, take a shower, and take a drink of water, how do you not think of them? I feel like I'm on an episode of The Twilight Zone, that there would ever be a time in my life that I would need to explain to people why killing over 11,000 children is wrong, why bombing civilians indiscriminately is a crime, that peace cannot be attained through violence or oppression, and why we as humans should stand up for people who have had all of their rights stripped from them, who are being starved, with no water, no electricity, forced from their homes, under constant threat of violence and death. This is not a political issue. This is a humanitarian crisis. And it is a very black and white, cut and dry, wrong or right situation. It is not right to punish civilians. It is not right to seek revenge on children. It is not right to destroy, starve, dismember, and brutalize innocent people, ever. I don't know why I would ever have to explain that to anybody. And I don't know what kind of person would be against a ceasefire when 70% of the people being killed in this conflict are women and children. Israel has already started dropping bombs on refugee camps in Rafah, camps filled with families living in tents in one of the most densely populated areas in the world. It is our duty as human beings with rights and voices to speak for those who are not being heard. No person ever anywhere should have to experience these atrocities. No matter how long or short it is, for the rest of their lives, these people, these innocent civilians, will carry this trauma with them. It is my responsibility as a citizen with rights in this country to advocate for any human who cannot advocate for themselves, whether it is here or on the other side of the world. As far as jurisdiction, precedence has already been set. We are not asking you to be trailblazers. Over 70 cities in the United States, including Chicago, Seattle, and San Francisco, have passed resolutions on this conflict, with most calling for a ceasefire. We would be joining other cities that oppose war and ask for peace, who are tired of our tax dollars being used to fund death and destruction, and to let the world know that if this conflict continues, it will not be in our name. 61% of American voters want a ceasefire. If this conflict escalates, and it looks like it is, whose sons and daughters do you think they will send? My son is currently serving as a Marine, and I am terrified that he will be asked to participate in this genocide. If you think that this conflict does not involve us, you are very mistaken. We have an opportunity here to be on the right side of history, and I would encourage you to put a ceasefire resolution on the agenda, and I'll end with that.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Bill Shaner. Go ahead, Bill.
Hello, am I coming through all right?
Yep.
Perfect. My name is Bill Shaner. I have been a resident of Nevada City for 4 years, but I was born and raised in Worcester, Massachusetts. I gotta say, I just love it out here. Big change when I did move for work, and it's just been fantastic. And I would like to speak on the ceasefire resolution. I would like to advocate for no ceasefire statement being made by the city. In fact, I would like the city to advocate for the arming of Palestinians so they can protect themselves from the Israeli menace that is attacking, killing, raping, and maiming all their women, men, and children inside of Palestine, or right now we're calling it Gaza. I think that Palestinians have a right to defend themselves against Israeli aggressions since their land was stolen in 1947, given to them by the British, for no absolute reason other than oil rights, and to have a friendly nation in the Middle East so that way that the Western empires could go ahead and suck oil and resources out of that area. In fact, I would like the city to call for the complete abolition of the illegitimate state of Israel and do everything that they can to publicly support the Palestinian cause. I don't personally support the Palestinians, but I support them in attacking and getting revenge over their oppressors and aggressors. The Israelis have been denying food and medical aid into Gaza for as long as Israel has existed. And again, it's an illegitimate state. It should not exist. It's the Holy Land, and it belongs to the Christians and the Muslims to share and split and do as they will, because the modern religion of Judaism is not the same as the ancient Israelites that you may read about in the Bible. Modern Judaism is Khazarianism, my apologies, that started in Ukraine, and it's a Bolshevik ideology to subvert and control nations and masses in order to get as much money and resources out of other people. They call everyone who's not a modern Jew a goy, which translates to a beast or cattle. That's what they're calling you and everyone in the audience. Israel and its concept of a nation is absolutely disgusting. You should read what they call you in their holy book. In fact, in their holy book, and I believe it's Ketubah 13 or 113b, they state that it's okay for a grown man to have sexual intercourse with a child less than 3 years of age. These kind of people are disgusting. They should not be allowed to continue their existence, oppression, rape, of murders of men, women, and children anywhere in the world, not just their neighbors. I mean, they attacked the USS Liberty on June 8th in 1967, which was an unarmed U.S. Navy intel operation rescuing prisoners of war from Egypt. And they just went ahead and attacked it because Egypt had information about
Thank you.
Israel.
Okay, next we have Zeke Lonby. Go ahead, Zeke.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Rabbi Zike Lonby, and I just want to say I'm tired of sitting here listening to all this anti-Semitism and this ceasefire garbage. All these filthy goyim in the crowd think that they can come up here and tell us Jews what to do. We own you. We control all of you. We control your city council. We control your governments. We control your media that tells you what to think. And if you goys think you're going to get over on us, you better think again.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Molly Conger. Go ahead, Molly.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can.
Phenomenal. My name is Molly Cogner. My goodness, those comments. I actually do podcasts for a living. Recently, I co-hosted one specifically on anti-Semitism in City Council. So it is crazy to be going to this local one and then hearing that. My goodness. But when I was doing this podcast, I did a lot of research, and I actually talked to a lovely psychologist who explained how hate comes about. And I think it's really important that in a time like this, we speak about hate. And the psychologist actually said that there's been loads of studies that show that having an open dialogue is actually the best way to combat hate. And they gave me these great resources, specifically one called gtvflyers.com. She said that it had a lot of information, and when you educate yourself about, those subjects that you're hateful about, that oftentimes it reduces the sense of ignorance, because ignorance is where hate really breeds. So that was one that she suggested, gtvflyers.com, gtvflyers.com. She also said that there was a documentary, my goodness. I want to say it was Europa, The Last Battle. Phenomenal. I watched it, could not recommend it more. I appreciate you guys letting me speak today. And if you'd like, of course, check out my podcast. That is Molly Cogner. And y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Rex's Lampshade Emporium. Go ahead.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you for having me. My name is Rex Uden, the owner and operator of Rex's Lampshade Emporium. My shop is a little bit outside of city limits, but like so many other people that have spoken tonight, I do have a 3-digit address. I've lived here for about 14 years now, and I just want to say that I don't believe that international issues are a concern of our local city government. Just like the gentleman called in earlier and said that, you know, we just had a parade and there's vomit and dog excrement strewn about the city. You know, we have our own domestic issues to be worrying about, and you know, what goes on the other side of the world really is none of our concern. So I just don't understand why so many people come in and, you know, virtue signal with their jazz hands and their masks on to sit here and talk about something on the other side of the planet. Like, I get our tax dollars go to that, but our tax dollars also go to, you know, the third world invasion that's happening to our nation. You know, that affects us here at home too, but nobody says a single thing about that. It seems to me like everybody that spoke tonight has no concern over the American population. So I don't support us having this ceasefire resolution. I don't think it has anything to do with our city. And what, you think Benjamin Netanyahu is going to care what Nevada City thinks of what he's doing over? You know, he funded Hamas. You know, that's all their whole thing. You know, like, those are God's chosen people. I'm sure what they're doing is right. I'm sure that they have just cause to be slaughtering people, you know? So I guess it kind of is what it is. And I'm a guy that, you know, I actually make lampshades out of Jews, you know, like Jews' faces primarily. And so, like, that should really add some gravity.
I would like to interrupt at this point. I've had enough of this person. I'd like you to cut him off. This is an insult to everyone here who is trying to speak in a reasonable way on this issue. This person is not.
Kill it.
So we only have 2 left, and one is Levi, who is also online, and then one was called earlier, Rhea Amanda Grebe, read by Tara Marino.
Let me be real clear about something here. Any more profanity and overt anti-Semitism, we will end the comment. Or racism, we're just going to end it, okay?
It's a disservice to the people speaking on both sides.
Okay, go ahead, Levi.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Great, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. A ceasefire resolution isn't far enough. It's virtue signaling. We must boycott those that are advocating for the genocide of men, women, and children in Gaza. John Lennon said, "War is over if you want it," and it's true. We can be a Zionist-free world, but it requires more than just a piece of paper. It requires activism, action, and dedication. Boycott Zionists. Sanction Israel. Tell the colonizers they are not welcome. I keep hearing both sides talk about why they support or they don't support a resolution for a ceasefire, but what I really hear is one side calling for the end of bloodshed of innocent children, and the other side, a bunch of Jewish supremacists crying that they are being exposed. Supremacy is wrong. I'll make that statement. Using violence against others that don't look like you or have your faith is wrong, but that's exactly what Israel is doing. When the Jewish Soviets murdered the opposition, it was wrong. When the Chinese mass murdered their own people, it was devastating, but we're told Israel is our greatest ally. We have a government officials trying to ban the criticism of Jews and imprison those that work to expose their crimes. The audacity of the Yentas calling in this cry about anti-Semitism is disgusting. No one cared when it was Uyghur Muslims being enslaved in concentration camps. No one cares that children are starving to death in Yemen right now. No one cared. That Jewish Bolsheviks starved 20 million people in Ukraine to death, which was called the Holodomor. I'm supposed to feel compassion for a group that the Bible said was of their father, the devil, and are the synagogue of Satan. I'm supposed to feel bad that these parasites are finally getting some karma. People need to wake up and realize Zionism is Judaism. Judaism is communism, and it's a religion of sickness and evil. Do I feel bad about October 7th? Not one bit. The Jews have been killing kids for decades and have enslaved the world with their demonic actions. If the people really came together, they would be free from Jewish control. Boycott Jewish businesses. Affecting their finances and educating others is the best thing you can do to get these people out of our lives. Why does the ADL, a group that was founded on defending Leo Frank, a child rapist, get to work with city governments to infringe on the people's rights to criticize the Jews? Learn more at gtdflyers.com or Goyim TV. I have a quick other statement here.
This is anti-Semitic.
We're not doing advertising for
Okay.
businesses.
I would like to point out that Flyers is the people who sent us those postcards.
Excuse me. Yeah, you are.
Amanda?
Amanda?
Yes. Sorry, I was
We
trying
got
to
her.
open
She
my
was
phone.
up earlier, but
I am
didn't come up.
speaking for Rhea.
Please be nice.
Yeah, I just want to say that none of those colors are with the coalition here, so, and do not speak for us. Greetings. Statement is from Rhea Grebe, homeowner 219 South Pine, Nevada Street, or Nevada City. Please make a ceasefire resolution for Palestine and Gaza immediately. It is urgent. Our national government is not listening to the voice of its citizens. It is too embedded with big money and investments made in the weapons industry that is booming right now. We need our local government bodies to be our voice to the national government, taking a stand that we do not stand for genocide or behind the Israeli government that makes very genocidal statements and actions. It is U.S. weapons that are making this 4-month-long massacre possible. It is urgent for people of Gaza. They are dying not only in the tens of thousands, they are starving, and tens of thousands are being maimed for life. Starving people en masse is completely unacceptable warfare. The way the healthcare system has been targeted is obscene, creating a new low in warfare. Medical staff are being shot inside medical facilities. People are unable to get medical care. They are subject to rampant infectious disease, crowded into the concentration camp of Rafah, the only quote-unquote safe zone, which is now being actively bombed. If all the Israelis were being rounded up into one small area, being tortured and then bombed there because they invaded Palestine and took over their land with extreme brutality, what would be the world's response? The war is pure racism, and racism is intense in our town. I am white, and I see and hear racism in our schools and communities of Nevada County. This issue is a local issue. Please stand against all hate with international law and with your local constituents who are calling for more just and peaceful world. The U.S. is again very clearly standing in the global world as a big bully, standing against the UN, which was set up to create a more peaceful and just world. This war threatens international, national, and local security. The voice of local people and local governments is important. Let's stand on the right side of history, stand against colonization, oppression, extreme violence, and a further land grab by the Israeli government. Please make a resolution for Nevada City calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Thank you.
That was the last of it.
Let's take 5 minutes. Bio break. Please be seated, or if you need to talk, we need you to exit. Thank you. All right, now we're going to move to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Before we take action on the consent calendar, we will hear any public comment on the consent calendar items only, including any request to pull consent items. We are pulling item number 3 for further discussion, but otherwise, do we have any public comment on the?
Is your mic on?
Any public comment on the consent agenda? Anything online?
I do, but let's check and see if that's what they want. If you have comment on anything on the consent agenda, please raise your hand. We do. Rudy Hess, go ahead.
Yeah, fuck niggers, fuck Jews, Heil Hitler.
All right, kill it now. Yeah, thank you. All right. So,
We have one more. Kay Carter.
hang on. We got to be fair. We got to give it a shot. I mean, go ahead, but get ready.
Am I coming through? Yep. Yeah, regarding the consent agenda, I just want to say I support the TKD plan. That's total kike
Come on,
deportation.
Ted.
Okay.
Okay.
all.
That's it.
That's it.
Track those names so when they reappear.
Yeah, we don't want to hear from them again.
All right. Any other comment on the public agenda? On the consent agenda? All right. We did pull item number 3. I'm looking for approval of the consent agenda minus item 3, which we'll take up after approval of the remaining items.
I move we approve the consent agenda minus item 3.
I second.
All in favor? Oh, you need roll call, right? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming? Yep. Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes. Okay, so we're going to take item 3, which has been pulled by Councilmember Cece. So go forth.
Thank you. Item 3 is the statistical monthly crime data, and I have 2 general comments. One of them is I want to commend our police force for their active pursuit of the people who would do our city and our citizens harm. I was paying attention to the police reports, and I'm glad to see that you apprehended some seriously bad people and their seriously bad weapons and drugs. My other thing is that your report includes a mention of the enforcement of the codes. And I noticed that there are still lit open signs in the historic downtown district, and that there is new lighting on the Union Alley building, which does not look to me like it complies with our guidelines. And so I would like, I'd like some clarification on the enforcement of those aspects.
Of course, council member. So first of all, thank you for recognizing that the officers are out there and they've done a great job the last couple of months. I wish I could take some credit for it, but unfortunately I'm in the office all the time and it's them out there that are finding this. I wish I could. It's fun sometimes, but it's them, not me. For code enforcement, yes, lately what we've been doing is going in almost a circular motion where we've been tackling many different problems and we're trying to tackle them one at a time. Also, we're taking a very informative approach as opposed to a disciplinary approach. In other words, we have not issued any citations for any violations, for code violations regarding the lights or the A-frames or the storefronts. That is purposeful. That's not something we've enforced before in the past, so we're really trying to work with business owners on acknowledging and understanding, hey, this is why we do have this is why we are enforcing this. I apologize that we have missed some. I know, like on the neon signs for the open signs, I know we got them all initially, and if some popped back up after we kind of focused on something else, that's my fault for us missing it, but we will readdress that and go back towards it. We've been focusing lately on the A-frames, and every one of these is a little time consuming because we try to approach the business owner, make sure they understand what the regulation is, what the ordinance is, understand why we have it in place, make sure they don't have any questions or concerns, and approach it in that manner. So if we're missing something, I'll happily get with you. I hear what you say on today, and we will go backwards and make sure that those are being enforced as well.
Great, that's satisfactory. I have photos.
And Mr. Vice Mayor, ideally, that's our timer for public comment. If people ever have concerns, they can contact the police department. They can contact us online on the city's website, nevadacityca.gov. On the left-hand side, there's a button, report a concern. That goes to city staff, and we'll respond if the people request to that. And of course, they can always come visit us, or everyone has my cell phone and Dan's cell phone, Chief Foster's cell phone as well. So little or big, the concerns are, worth looking into. So if there are issues like that, please, if you're watching at home, reach out to us. We're happy to take a look.
Great, thank you, and we will approve this in a moment. But Chief, I just wanted a comment. I agree with Councilmember Cece about the quality of work that's been done by your folks, but I don't agree that it is just them, because particularly in the structure in which you exist, leadership is a key component, and your leadership has transformed policing in Nevada City the way we set out to do, and it is a leadership issue, so you get some of the credit too. So.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
If I may,
Much appreciated.
Vice Mayor. Yeah, I just, I've been talking to you about this a little bit, but the fact that you've gotten, your team has gotten so much drugs off the street, considerable, from a pound of meth to an ounce of heroin, significant weapons, felons with weapons, it's pretty impressive, and I appreciate you keeping us apprised of all the good work you guys are doing out there, as far as everything from the drugs and the guns to going undercover to bust smokers. So you're doing the full range, and we really appreciate it. And tell the team that, hey, good job.
I definitely will. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. So looking for a motion to approve item 3.
I move that we approve item 3.
Second.
Roll call, because it's
Sure.
Yeah, roll call.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor, oh, I did that wrong.
That's okay.
Vice Mayor Fleming?
Yeah, sure. I've been
Stir
told.
hot.
You get promoted and demoted at the same meeting.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so next up, we're moving into the business section of our meeting. Public hearing, conduct a public hearing in consideration of ordinance 2024-01. First one of the year. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, adding Chapter 2.55, Design Immunity for Public Projects of Title II, Administration and Personnel, to the City of Nevada City Municipal Code pertaining to design immunity for public projects, and finding this action to be exempt from CEQA. Please explain this, Sean.
So I waited till February to bring you the first ordinance of the year, so I doubled the title length. This is a cleanup item to make sure that our ordinance reflects all of the protections that are afforded under California law with regard to public works projects. So usually anything of consequence of size, essentially anything larger than $25,000 that's a public works project, is going to come before the city council to be awarded. We put these out to bid, and they're awarded, and you along the way approve the plans and specifications. But we have smaller projects that can fall under either my purchasing authority or the city engineer's purchasing authority. We're talking about usually projects under $10,000, small sidewalk projects and the like. In these situations, the city engineer is approving the plans and specifications. The government code section 830.6 provides that public agencies have design immunity defense for public works projects designed and constructed by the public agency. The key there is that provided that the design was approved in advance of the construction by the agency's legislative body, in this case the council, or by an employee authorized by the legislative body to give such a design approval. So today, when you approve the design and specifications and or award the bid and approve the design and specifications, the city has that design immunity. But when the city engineer does it without council authority, we don't have that defined within the code that he is an authorized person, so that immunity doesn't carry through. So staff recommends that to ensure the city retains its design immunity protection afforded under state law, that you codify that delegation of this in the city's municipal code, and you do that tonight by conducting the public hearing, holding first reading of the ordinance by title only. And I would note that the ordinance doesn't change any other items. It doesn't change our purchasing policy as far as who's authorized to expend what funds. It also doesn't change what we have to do under the Public Contracts Code or under our own ordinance as far as awarding bids and the like. So there's a reason why it's under the administration and personnel side, is because we already defined the city engineer in that regard. So it just adds a line to that section saying that that position is designated to do that work. I know there's probably some questions, even though it's pretty straightforward from our end. It seems a little weird, people reading it. So with that, we'd recommend you conduct first reading, read by title only, and conduct the public hearing if there's any public comment. And Brian is not here this evening to answer any questions because he's doing something probably more fun. But this is, yeah. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
We'll take public comment first. Any comment on this? I think we're not going to take any more Zoom comments. Come and get us if you're upset.
They're all recognizable.
Sorry. Can I do
But
that?
there is none. Yeah, there is, there's no hands raised, so
Okay.
you're good.
But can I do that?
Well, you lucked out, there's no hands raised.
We have to give voice to everyone, as I said, whether we like it or not. Okay, thank you. Any questions here on council members?
I have two. How often has this come up?
Frequently. So this is, everything from small sidewalk projects where we're just replacing 4 or 5 panels, and the city engineer, Brian, will still, get bids for that. He's the one that, either has someone else design or he designs himself. He approves the plans and awards the bid after we get the bids in place. So it's a pretty common practice. It's common in most cities. We're just trying to align that protection for these smaller projects for design immunity that is already afforded to us under the law when the council approves the larger projects.
Okay, and will the council be informed when the person who has this authority makes those decisions?
Not directly. You're doing that by designating them in the municipal code. So these are all projects that are under the purchasing authority of either me or the city engineer in this case. So small projects that would be handled at the staff level wouldn't come to the council anyway. However, if, for example, this was a $20,000 project and all of a sudden we find out that it needs $10,000 of extra work, now we've gone past the $25,000 purchase authority that I have, and we would have to come to the council for approval to make that change order. So, $25,000 doesn't go as far as it used to. But this would include, filling 4 potholes on the street using a contractor. If we'd use our own forces, it would be different. But it's pretty small project activities.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we still exercise some kind of fiscal oversight, even to small projects, because small projects can add up.
Yeah, absolutely you do, and anything that that Brian would be approving would be something that is in the budget, identified in the CIP, and or as a ongoing maintenance project.
Good, thank you.
Other questions?
No, I read it all. It's good. It makes sense. It's it just saves a little going back and forth.
Councilmember Klein? I want to comment. I'm where you are, Lou. I kind of freaked out when I first read it because it appeared to me as there was language that said that the city engineer could sign a change order anytime he wanted. And, frequently, in the public works departments I ran, you had a 10% you could sign, but, if you're looking at a bridge project that runs 7 to 10 million and you got a 10% overrun, you're talking big dollars. However, I spoke at great length with the city manager on this, and there is a $25,000 cap on this that can't be exceeded without coming to us. The tension here is, because the other thing is, we don't want every little thing to come to us either. So that seems like I was satisfied that there's a reasonable protection there. And not only that, I think Brian's got 10,000, but Sean's got 25,000. So Brian can do a little bit himself, which, makes sense. If you've got the opportunity to extend a project by a few $1,000s, you've got the money. Over 10,000's got to come to Sean to approve it. And then anything above that on any of these projects comes to us. And also, when we approve contracts, we generally approve language that speaks to how overruns and cost overruns and change orders will be managed. So that language is in there as well.
Yeah, that was in 2 of the consent agenda items. wasn't it?
Right.
Exactly. You'll
Exactly.
see that in whether it's consent or on business. We always kind of use the same format: award the contract, approve a contingency. Usually it's 10%. Some projects will be more than that. Especially smaller projects sometimes require a bigger amount because if a $30,000 project needed an extra window, that might be much more than 10%, whereas a big project, sometimes you'll see a smaller, but generally it's 10%, and then the authorization you're authorizing me, that's the last of the third prong of all the ones you'll see, authorizing me to exercise that contingency. If we were to spend a penny more than that, we would have to come back to the council to approve the change order.
So long and short of it, I felt like we were adequately covered in the fiduciary responsibility.
I'm satisfied with that.
I like the word fiduciary, so.
Fiduciary, yes.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the item.
Do we need to read it? 'Cause it's an
So-
ordinance.
Reading?
It's an
Yeah,
ordinance.
Oh, yeah, it's all right, I move that we conduct a public hearing in consideration of ordinance 2024-01, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, adding Chapter 2.55, Design Immunity for Public Projects of Title II, Administration and Personnel, to the City of Nevada City Municipal Code pertaining to design immunity for public projects and finding this action to be exempt from CEQA.
I assume that
I move-
motion includes reading by title only.
Reading by title only, waive first ordinance in its entirety, read by title only, and schedule for a second reading and adoption on February 28th, 2024.
Thank you.
Looking for a second?
Oh, I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cece.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right, thank you. So we're moving to item number 9, consideration of Resolution 2024-04, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, establishing a Nevada City Courthouse Ad Hoc Committee. Take it away, Sean.
All right, so the Judicial Council of California, or the JCC, has approved and obtained initial funding for the relocation of the existing Nevada City Courthouse. That is all the drama we went through with the study of whether they were going to rebuild the courthouse in its current condition, tear it down and rebuild something new there, or move it somewhere else. And ultimately, the decision was made by the JCC and ultimately the legislature to fund moving it somewhere else. Now they are in the land acquisition phase, so finding that somewhere else. The JCC does host a public advisory group, commonly called the PAG. The mayor and I attend those meetings, and it has a broad stakeholder groups, so Town of Truckee, City of Grass Valley, the Nevada County, because it involves the courts, the sheriff, probation, attorneys groups, and the like. But what it doesn't include is direct consideration of public input from Nevada City stakeholders. So in the past, the city has taken this same approach in both 2009 and 2019. In both instances, a committee was formed that includes city staff, an elected official, and a community member to assist in this. Basically, what it would mean is that I would take information from the PAG and bring it to our own committee and share things about what sites they're looking at, what the public sentiment might be about those sites, how it might be best received, and the committee could provide me feedback about that, and then I can present that back to the PAG. That is the process that they desire anyway. They want feedback coming back to the PAG from the community, not just from elected officials or staff. So in this case, the recommended committee membership is Councilmember Fleming, myself, your city engineer, Brian McAllister, and then former council member to multi-time mayor and former committee chair of this committee, both in 2009 and 2019, Paul Mattson, who has graciously volunteered to step up again. And then, of course, additional staff might be assigned by me as applicable, and Nevada County, through the CEO's office, has agreed to assign a representative to our committee because it's half their courthouse in our city, and obviously, you know, the public sentiment might be best informed by having a representative there as well. So adopting the resolution approves the committee and its membership and its purpose, and the committee will continue to meet until the JCC completes its work and identifies a location, or until you disband it.
Sometime in the next century?
At this point, they've moved the timeline for moving into the building somewhere into mid-year of 2031. If they move it much further, it's going to be my successors' kids that are the city managers when this goes through. But nonetheless, I think it's very important that, we have a voice, and that voice have as many collective voices from our community when we give input to the PAG. So the committee, because it does appoint a community member, is subject to the Brown Act and open meeting requirements. So with that, we'd recommend that you adopt the resolution and appoint the committee.
Great, thank you. Public comment?
Gerasimos Christoforatos. I'm not well educated and versed on the situation and what it takes. The only questions I would have are the financial costs of what that would take to happen in a time and age. Obviously, you said it was 2031, and I know economics might change that time, but looking at the situation that I believe we're heading in now with interest rates, corporate issues and buildings and costs, I'm just wondering where I could potentially maybe look at the information on what that would entail financially.
Sure, I believe there's a website that has the information on it and the process described. So
Yeah, the JCC's website, the Judicial Council of California, has a website for their facilities, and within that, all the projects. There's a dedicated webpage to the Nevada City Courthouse project. It's currently budgeted at about $178 million all in, although we would anticipate that to be much higher. There's 0 Nevada City dollars in that project.
And where are those funds come? Is it a state-funded project?
This is the state courts. I just use this opportunity to say it's the least transparent process I've ever been a part of, and I'm a real process guy. And the courts do what they want and pretend that they care about what you think. So it's kind of true, right? They have put this off several times, like decades off. We've been at the table 3 different times. We'll continue to be at the table as they move back and forth. The previous times they lost funding with budget changes. As you say, when you start working on projects, you're talking 30 or 40 years. But it's not entirely clear. I've looked at the website. Please go look. It's the Judicial Council of California, I believe. And then you can tell me if you understand what they're saying there, and we can have a conversation about that. Yep, thank you. So any other public comment?
If you'd like to speak to this topic online, please raise your virtual hand. We do not.
Any comment from council members or response to?
Yeah,
my
so,
rant?
so one of the things about
And
this.
Doug will be our representative.
Yeah, so one of the things about this is it's somewhat, out of our hands. We've been trying to advocate to keep the courthouse where it is because it's an economic driver for downtown. It employs a lot of people. It, feeds a lot of, they spend their dollars downtown. So the thoughts are to move it over possibly to the Forest Service building on Coyote Street. There's some other areas, including the Tech Center and the Root Center. The fact of the matter is, we don't have any say as a city. The county has some leverage, but they only have 49% ownership of the property. So our big concern, there's a lot of concerns, but one concern is that we're going to have another zombie building on our hands. And so there's also another committee working simultaneously to find the best use for this, for the empty courthouse, which will need at least $10 to $16 million in retrofitting to make it habitable.
Keep it useful.
Yeah, to make it useful. There's some good ideas out there, so I encourage anybody in the public, if you have any good ideas of what we can do with our old courthouse, let us know. We've had people talk about turning it into a boutique hotel, to a museum, to a university or college, and a few other things too. So there's some good ideas, but people need to come with a lot of money to help make it happen. We are still gonna, as a council, I believe, and as a committee, we're gonna still advocate that we get some kind of leverage into what happens with this. I don't know how effective we're going to be, but we're going to try. And we just need to have a voice in it, and we need to hear from the people. So if there's anybody else who wants to join this committee, you're more than welcome. And that would have a lot to do with saying, well, what we can do to advocate on where it goes, and then what happens with the property after they decide. And hopes that it happens quickly and they don't claw back the money like they've done 2 times before.
I wanted to wait till you took a drink.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad Doug's involved in this. I'm glad Paul Mattson, who's got so much passion about this, is involved, because he's about as knowledgeable and as I said, passionate about this subject as you can get. And I can definitely speak to, I had, this is some years back, but I had 3 weeks of jury duty on a particularly grisly case once, and I ate lunch downtown every day during that session, and I just know that adds up for all of our restaurants and people shopping. If it's going to be moved sometime before 2050, that is going to impact our businesses. Yeah, that's it. It all sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'd like to also echo thanking Paul Mattson, who's been a driving force on this since the beginning. Yeah, he's been fighting this battle with a lot of gusto and inspiration, and so I really respect his leadership on this.
As far as I can understand, the only expense to the city establishing this committee might have would be any staff time that it would be taken for it. I think that's a good use of the staff time.
Yeah, with everything I said, which about the Judicial Committee, which is all true, there have been other cities that have successfully negotiated with them. Susanville is, I think, an example of how they managed to retain the existing facilities as an asset, which is something we have to be very concerned about. Although I think the economic studies, depending on whose you look at, we are the county seat. We cannot force them to be in the city limits, although the tradition is that the courthouse will be located within the city limits of the county seat. So they're looking at spaces nearby. Some could be inside, but the question will be how people get downtown, because it's a significant driver of economics down there. So there's a point. So I think it's a great committee. Doug, go for it. And Paul is probably the most knowledgeable person we have on this, and I'm just really impressed that he's still hanging in there after
Yes,
all of this.
we're lucky to have him.
It's tenacious. So.
He is our future, gentlemen.
No, you are you the future.
And eventually I'll be Paul Mattson, is what I'm saying.
You should look that good.
Looking for a motion.
I so move, whatever it is. Establish this ad hoc committee.
Consideration Resolution 2024-04, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, establishing a Nevada Courthouse Committee ad hoc committee. Adopt a resolution.
And the purpose of that was? So you
Yes,
got it
I
first?
moved what he
That was a
said.
second?
That was the second.
I'm just watching Keith's eyebrows during this whole process.
Yeah, thank you. Just keep saying that. Okay. All in favor? Got to do a roll call? Got to do a roll call. Roll call.
Councilmember CC?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Of course.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, item number 10, one of my favorites, consideration of adopting the Nevada City Wildfire Prevention and Mitigation Program Accelerator Funding Plan.
I just like the word accelerator.
I like it.
I'd like to invite Evan McClenathan to come up.
Evan.
If you like anything in here, he's the one that will be executing it. If you don't like anything, it's my fault anyway. So this action presents, as the Vice Mayor said, the Nevada City Wildfire Prevention Mitigation Program Accelerator Funding Plan, longest title of the plan ever. We're requesting that you adopt the plan and approve the funding within it. The actual approval of the funding will come next council meeting when we do mid-year budget. The plan is intended to provide immediate funding for priority activities needed to make Nevada City safer from wildfire. On November 9th of 2022, that sounds so long ago, you adopted the city's first comprehensive community-driven strategic plan, and that includes the strategic initiative of fire. Within this year's budget, you included funding for Evan as our new community risk reduction officer, who we hired in January, to staff our Nevada City Office of Emergency Services. And then we also secured in Prop 64, thank you, at the time Mayor, now Council Member Fleming, funding for a fuels equipment operator for the next 5 years. That person's name is David, and he is out every day doing road hardening and property abatement. Within the 5-year capital improvement program, which we never had before either, and now we do. One thing is great, it identifies projects and puts money to it. Another thing that's great for planning is that it also identifies the things we're not putting money into. And in this case, the unfunded activities include almost $500,000 in unfunded support of defensible space, vegetation management, road hardening, and other wildfire mitigation activities. On November 8th, you did place a ballot measure for March 5th. It's called Measure C. This program is abstract from that. It's not related to that, although it advances the items that would otherwise be in Measure C in the short term. If Measure C were to pass, we wouldn't receive money right away. Sales taxes are collected a quarter in arrears, and then new taxes, you really don't get the full amount until following on. I don't think this community desires to wait any longer on many of the activities that we desire to do. So what you have before you is essentially taking the Nevada City Wildfire Prevention and Mitigation Plan developed by the Fire Safety Advisory Committee and all of their priority actions and seeks to fund them starting now and moving into next year's budget instead of waiting. So those activities are across the board. Some of it will be done by Evan or by David or by existing staff with existing funding. Others of it will be new funding. We are requesting a total of $70,000 of new expenditures within the budget. You'll formally approve in the mid-year budget on the 28th. But that's basically goes to updating required plans, our Nevada City Specific Community Wildfire Protection Plan, as well as updating the Local Hazard Mitigation Plan. That is a regional process done with the county and all the other stakeholders. But those are prerequisites to getting funding in many cases from grantors. Not all of them, but many of them. So that $40,000 invested puts us in the pool of multi-million-dollar projects that we wouldn't be able to access without those plans. The money also implements 2 microgrant programs. The first, you already approved the home hardening microgrant program, and the second would be a microgrant program to help support the development of new Firewise communities within Nevada City, as well as support the projects of existing Firewise communities within Nevada City. So that allows us to, the balance of the $70,000 is $10,000 going towards evacuation planning activities, green waste disposal access, rotating green waste bins throughout the community like is done in some parts of the county, as well as re-implementing recurring community chipping activities. So trying to get that green waste off the ground and in places where it can be chipped and placed on the ground in much less dense will help the community with that. So if you approve it tonight, we'll present it tomorrow night to the Fire Safety Advisory Committee to help guide us on how we'll implement it, or I should say how Evan will implement it. So with that, we would request that you approve the really long-named plan and direct us to put the $70,000 in the mid-year budget for February 28th so that we can advance these items now. That's all I have, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Evan, did you have anything to add?
No, I'm here for questions.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm excited about all this work too. And yeah, we're already starting a lot of it, as you already know, and I'm excited to progress that and if you all approve it.
Great, great. All right, public comment. Anybody online?
There is. Would you like to speak on this topic? Go ahead and raise your hand. No.
Okay. Okay, Councilmember Klein.
Yeah, this is so encouraging. When we were doing strategic planning, fire was far and away the most urgent issue that people mentioned. So I'm just so encouraged that we are taking it so seriously and giving it so much attention and focus. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, it really helps to have a brilliant city manager who also used to be a firefighter. Still is at heart, I think, This is brilliant. And so we're basically using some of our ARPA funds to front load this, the hopeful funding we're going to get if Measure C, when Measure C passes, I should say. Are we going to be able, would we replenish that fund when Measure C passes? Would we put that money back, the 70,000?
I wouldn't anticipate it. These are one-time expenses that would be covered in future years. You'll need to renew your CWPP in 5 years, and so that would be part of the budget of that tax measure. But yes, these are one-time expenses, and we did allocate the American Rescue Plan Act funds, or ARPA funds, specifically allocated to the strategic initiatives, and so that's where this is coming from. No new general fund monies. It's money that is parked within a reserve account right now, but you did not appropriate it within the budget, so I can't touch it. I can't do anything without your say-so. That's why it will be in the mid-year budget as a new appropriation.
Thanks. As far as the CWPP, I know we were piggybacking off the county because they're doing a big geospatial, CWPP. Are we doing our own separate one with this, or is this just us giving the county our piece of it? How are we doing this?
Take it away, Evan.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
so we will be annexed into the counties, but we will have a standalone document that is Nevada City CWPP. We're looking to start that process with the survey for community engagement early as next week, hopefully, depending on what the Fire Safety Advisory Committee says tomorrow. And get that out there, and then we will continue that process. We should have a community engagement plan along with the finances of it provided to us from the same consultant that the county used by the end of next week. They said the end of this week, but hopefully end of next week. So yes.
That's exciting. That's exciting. I'm glad that we'll have our own plan that we can sort of hang our hat on and use for grants.
Right.
I'm good. Thanks.
My colleague on the Fire Safety Advisory Committee, Councilmember CC.
Let's do it.
Cool. Okay, a couple things. 3 firefighters. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. It's all
I
right.
keep
But
forgetting.
two of us did real fire, wildland fire.
Yes.
I
was just, pavement
just a
princess.
structure guy.
Some people run into burning buildings, the rest of us run into burning woods, forests and stuff. However, I think it's one of our drivers because we're all acutely aware of the risk that we all face every day with fire. It is the greatest threat to our community that we face, and it's one of the reasons why we've been so focused on it and are taking the actions that are needed. I think particularly the CWPP, the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, which really starts to move us into greater information about threats, hazards, where we need to apply our resources, and evacuation. So these are really critical pieces. Because the county was so generous in provided us about $70,000 worth of data that they had collected specific to our community, which allowed us to swing in behind with a smaller amount of money and develop our own CWPP, which will be completely aligned with the county CWPP. We can't be, fire doesn't care about political boundaries. We do have our own needs that are included in this plan, and it's really important that we understand and acknowledge that because the county's at a much higher level. So we have our more detailed plan, but it completely lines up with what the county's doing so that we can do regional partnerships, we can get larger grants together, share those grants. So it's really critical. I think I talk about this a lot, and great op-ed piece in Ubinet yesterday from Terry Anderson, who has worked with the Fire Safety Advisory Committee for some time, that talks about we're all firefighters. And the micro grants that we're doing is where we build the fabric of our community to come together to prevent wildfire. We've got to, there is the top-down piece. We've got to align with the county. We've got to align with the state. We've got to get the federal grants. We've got to get the money pipeline coming down. But the real work also happens from the bottom up in our Firewise communities, in our neighborhoods, where we figure out what we need to do together to get through fire when it comes. It's inevitable, it's coming, but the ability to survive it and then resiliency that we bounce back as quickly as possible. So these plans are really critical in describing that, and the micro grants will help us weave the fabric of community. But the true accelerator will be Measure C when it passes. We have the plans, we're looking at the plans. We will do these plans, whether Measure C passes or not. We've got to do this work. The difference is with Measure C, we can do a huge amount of work in 3 to 5 years. Without Measure C, that same amount of work will take 7 to 10 years. So the question is, can we afford to wait? So this is really great work. It's, a lot of people have worked on this for several years to get it to this point, and it's really starting to move, reached a tipping point, starting to figure out the funding. Once it became a strategic initiative, that once the community identified it as the top issue, it really began to accelerate. So I like the word accelerator too. Not accelerant, but accelerator. Accelerant is what they put on fires, make them burn harder. It's a joke. So it's a great plan, and Evan, looking forward to it.
Yeah, just if community members want to start their own Firewise community, should they contact you, Evan?
The best kind of route for that would probably be the Fire Safe Council.
Fire Safe
They're
Council?
the larger entity that supports the Firewise communities.
Okay, and so what kind of support are we providing with the finances for the Firewise communities? Or
So the micro grant would, two different pieces. One, it will be, Evan, we've already identified they already have maps through the Fire Safe Council of where there's Firewise groups, so people can look in there. We put it in the most recent newsletter, how people could find that map and see if they're in a Firewise community. So if they're not and they want to start a Firewise community, we would help with a small amount of funding, host meetings, Evan work with the Fire Safe Council to, kind of at that local attachment, so that those neighbor-to-neighbor conversations can happen and see if they want to start a Firewise community. That would be that part of the micro grant. If they're an existing Firewise community, the micro grant would go towards the projects that every year they have to do a project and have so many points and things like that, and so go to help supporting a project of existing Firewise communities. So that's kind of the nexus there. But Evan is an amazing communicator, so you can call him about anything. If it's not his, he'll point you in the right direction and probably give you a soft handoff, introduce you to whoever it is. But the Fire Safe Council is the collector of Firewise communities within our county.
it would be great just to see that we have a Firewise community covering our entire,
I think ideally, when I talk about the fabric of community, we need Firewise, and every home should have the opportunity to belong to a Firewise community. Aaron and I are going to go to work around Nevada, around Pioneer Park, which is a really easy one to sell these days, given that we all watched a house burn down. The response was fantastic. So many people just jumped on it. But also, we're looking at all the trees around there, and if it hadn't been winter, it'd have been a very, very different story. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? All right, looking for a motion.
I move we adopt the plan.
I second.
Yes, that was definitive.
Council.
go ahead.
Councilmember Cici.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Peterson.
Yes,
Motion carries 4-0.
great. And then we'll see you tomorrow night at our next meeting.
FSAC, yeah. which
Thank
is
you,
tomorrow
Evan.
night.
Thank you,
All
City Manager.
right, so, thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, final reports and agenda items. So, Sean, you got a report for us?
I'll be brief. City Hall is closed on Monday for President's Day, which means if you're coming downtown to shop or eat, you don't have to feed the meters. The meters will take your coins if you put them in when you don't need to, so you don't have to on Monday. Happy Valentine's Day to my wife, Vanessa, and the kids at home. Next week, Vanessa and I celebrate our 27th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
And thanks to the city council and the community, the week after that, we're celebrating our second anniversary serving Nevada City as city manager. So thank you, council. And we've accomplished a lot, but a lot more to come.
Time flies when you're having fun. Eh?
Exactly. And that's all I have this evening, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Klein.
Sure. I wanted to let you guys know the Vibrancy Committee had a joint meeting, the first meeting of the new Public Arts Commission. It was very exciting. Our town has right now 6 new commissioners working on a 7th. Well, how's the youth commissioner? Have we heard any new ones? I don't know about the applications for the youth commissioner position on the Public Arts.
You have the information on all of them, but you could maybe reach out to the people in the room or at home to say, we're still accepting applications.
I guess we're still accepting applications for a youth arts commissioner. I believe the recommended age is between 16 and 18. Is that right, Sean?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, that's the commission that's going to be sort of shaping the future of public art in Nevada City, a very artistic community that finally is setting this in stone. So that's super exciting. Like to recognize Black History Month. And that the job of ending white supremacy is the work of white people to do. And after some of the comment we've heard, there's a lot of work to be done. I really had a hard time listening to that.
That's well you should.
Yeah, it's our job to sit and listen to that, I think, Keith. But
Actually, no. The
Great.
The public only has the right to comment on matters before
Yeah,
within your jurisdiction, and that horrific comments have nothing to do with your authority.
great.
So we just kill them if they're on Zoom.
If we have no means of identifying where people are coming from when they're calling from Zoom, and that's what's frustrating. Is
We can consider changing our format, can we not?
Yes.
Yes, you're under no obligation to accept comments telephonically.
while this is going on, I mean, it's like I can't imagine. I hope to God those folks don't live anywhere near us. Some of that talk sounds like stuff I've heard when up in northern Idaho, for instance. No offense to the nice people of northern Idaho, but like we've said again and again as a council, like there's no room for hate here. There's no room for anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and they have a right to whatever ignorant bullshit they believe, but we don't have to give them a microphone.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Of course, the F word was most used by your colleagues on Zoom a few meetings ago. Same sort of format. They came in and nobody knew who they were, so they could swear at us. So it works both ways, but I think if we're going to be subject to this, that we should think about eliminating Zoom, and we should take that up with our city manager and our attorney and figure out how to do that.
I mean, whatever the disagreements are, I think it's fair to say that the people coming to the room, like, we can look into each other's eyes and see the common humanity, where in Zoom, this seems like it's a game to some of the folks that we heard from today, where I think they're just getting their kicks. I don't imagine they live anywhere near here.
I think it's a slippery slope to start, stifling,
Well, we're not saying about stifling it, it's about the requirements that existed forever about being present to do this work. Yeah.
I think public comment's super valuable. I just really want to make sure it's our public and not,
But we allow anybody to come
Nazi
here and
dopes.
speak.
Well,
Feel free.
The difference, and
I know what the difference
the difference is the faceless anonymity of Zoom versus you standing right in front of me and doing that. And that's a very big difference because you are in the presence of another human being. This was my big deal with moving. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Like I said, I'm a process guy. I've worked with human processes my entire adult life, and moving from out of the room to Zoom changed everything. Completely changed everything. How do you feel it? Because human chemistry is a real thing. And when I'm in the room with you and it's humanized, you may do it. It's up to you if you want to do that, but it's a very different than providing that anonymous voice. So we need to consider that, whether we want to continue in that vein and subject ourselves to this. So, sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. Last thing is that I got my ballot in the mail, and I voted already, and everyone should do the same.
Excellent.
Vote early, vote often.
You're from Chicago, right?
Yeah,
Yep,
Chicago.
I am.
Chicago rules.
That's where I learned that.
Oh, and happy Valentine's Day to Sean's wife.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes, I don't have a lot to report, but I did attend a wonderful meeting with the city manager and Diana Gamson, the head of the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance, and it was really wonderful to see. I'm a very big supporter of the cannabis industry in this county and in this city, as long as it's done safely and properly. But it was really good to see our city manager in action, who apparently knows all the regulations by heart, because
Diana will make sure you do.
No, Diana is amazing and just an amazing human and an amazing advocate for the cannabis industry. She had an agenda, obviously, that might not always dovetail with our agenda, and, that's her job. But our city manager was really very well versed in all the nuances of the state law and our ordinance, and it was just wonderful to see. It was a good process, and I appreciate that. It was a little sausage making, but, Diana left, very encouraged, and, I left very inspired. So I just wanted to thank you and thank Diana. If she's probably watching. And I'm a big fan of the cannabis industry. They're having a tough time right now, and I think they're coming back, and we'd like to see them make it. So anything we can do to help them out, I think we're going to try to do. That's it.
Councilmember Cece.
2 reports and a personal note. The first report is that Saturday was the citywide cleanup, and I want to thank everyone who showed up as a volunteer to stand around and look important, because the real work was done by the waste management people who did the actual hauling and hefting. I informally counted 8 10-ton bins of junk that was hauled away from the city from that event, and that is great. My other report is that I continue to be impressed by our public works people. I saw them out today in what can only be described as miserable conditions, cleaning sewers, cleaning storm drains, repairing rock walls, and doing street sweeping. And I am very happy that they're doing that and staying ahead of these storms that are coming. And now for the personal note. Today is Ash Wednesday. Many Christians observe it. I do. And among the prayers that we prayed in our church this morning is this one: accept our repentance for our blindness to human need and suffering, and for uncharitable thoughts toward our neighbors. And I will be taking those words to heart, at least for the next 40 days, if not the rest of my life.
Can I just say that I appreciate your work in wrangling all of us for the community cleanup day. It was a fun day. You get to see a lot of the community. This time we didn't have to work as hard as we've done in the past, so you obviously pulled some strings so we could stand around and look important as opposed to getting our hands really dirty. So, Lud, great job. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Always inspiring. Let's see, I'm not happy Mardi Gras, great Mardi Gras Day parade. It was a lot of fun. I hear you, Miriam. We've got to work on cleaning things up afterwards, but this town loves a party, and the bigger the party, the bigger the mess. But already in conversation with the city manager about how to look at the chamber and talk to the chamber about how to get things back. And we hear you, Matthew, about getting ready beforehand. But it was a lot of fun. It was a beautiful day and a really good parade. So kudos to everyone that helped make that work. And you always see Stuart and Lynn and Joel out there just moving barricades around and keeping it safe. And thanks for the police and supporting there. Again, I would report, I have heard this several times on fire response, that it's no longer a jurisdictional issue. When something's on fire, everyone goes. And when the house burst into flame in Pioneer Park last week, the response was really impressive. The fire was knocked down within moments of the arrival, and it was a great response, well taken care of, and good job. And thanks to all who did that. And I think I'll leave it at that. It's going to be wet for the next few days. Stay dry. And looking for a motion to end this meeting.
I move that we wish that the mayor gets well soon.
Oh, yes.
And has a happy Valentine's Day, and adjourn.
Well done.
Second all
that. We missed you, Daniela. All right.
Nice work, Gary. Nice work, Gary.
Thank you.